Good evening and welcome to Platform on the network service of Radio Nigeria, the program that keeps you posted on the trends and developments in the polity. On the program this evening, we shall be discussing the 2019 elections and mass political participation. I am your host, Dan Ede. Stay with us. According to an author, Jan van Def, vibrant democracies are characterized by a continuous expansion of available forms of participation. Def goes further to define political participation as citizens' activities affecting politics. Ever since the famous funeral of Pericles in 431 BC, politicians and scholars have stressed the unique character of democracy by emphasizing the role of ordinary citizens in political affairs. Experts have identified broad areas in which the citizens can participate in politics in a non-professional way. These include voting, demonstrating, contacting public officials, boycotting or attending party rallies, posting blogs, volunteering, joining flash mobs, and even suicide protests. It is important to note that political participation is voluntary and not ordered by a ruling class or obliged under some law. For the purpose of our discussion, however, we are going to view political participation from a broader perspective by bringing direct involvement in politics within its purview. What is the level of political consciousness among the citizens? Why does the cream of the society stay away from partisan politics? What will stimulate the involvement of more people in the 2019 electoral process? These are some of the questions to address on this first edition of Platform this month. Our guest is the chieftain of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, ANRP, Mr. Omagbitse Barrow. Mr. Barrow, you are welcome to Platform.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
The political scene is now agog as we approach next year's general election. What's your appraisal of the conduct of the politicians, especially the rush of defections and impeachments?
Well, I think that defections, it has become a drama of sorts. It's almost theatrics. And I think that the question that even you in the broadcast media should be focusing on, and all Nigerians, what is the benefit of these defections? And what hope, if any, does it give to Nigerians? And how can the people, whether the people who are in one place or the other people who are moving, what are they actually going to do? Is it not just a power play? Is it really about helping the people of Nigeria? Those are the thoughts that the ordinary Nigerian should have at the back of their minds. Those are the thoughts that occupy my mind.
Well, our constitution guarantees freedom of association.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And the defection is as old as democracy itself.
Yes.
In Nigeria, it dates back to the 50s. Remember the cross-carpeting in Agodi, in the front Western Regional House of Assembly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the way it is now, do you think it's going to have any negative impact on the 2019 electoral process?
Well, I think that if anything, what Nigerians may see, the average Nigerian, the forward-thinking Nigerian who has sat by the sidelines a lot, may see it as an opportunity to get even more involved. I think that's the point, that people are now even more resolute about the fact that they need to get involved. So I think it will enrich the electoral process because more people will become more activists about being involved in that process. And that's exactly what the real spirit of democracy is.
Talking about being involved,
yes,
it's often said that politics is a dirty game. Yet, the fate of a nation, to some extent, or to a very large extent,
yes,
is being determined by politicians. What do you say about the attitude of those who feel they are too clean to play politics?
And that's my point. Thank you so much for bringing up that question. You see, politics, you say to a large extent, to every extent. Kwame Nkrumah said that seek ye first political power and everything else will be added unto you. He was doing a play on the words of Jesus. And it's a very profound point. Politics determines everything. So if we say that politics is dirty and then we leave it to so-called dirty people, then it will remain dirty and our country will remain a latrine. So what do we need to do? Those of us who think we are not that dirty have to be audacious enough to get involved. So I think that the cynicism, Nigerians, people who are forward thinking in this country are too cynical. And that cynicism is not going to help us. They are too cynical about even the possibility that things can be better. Yet, in their private conversations, in their private interactions, they say they wish things were better. How will things be better if you remain cynical and remain outside the political sphere of a society?
Okay, it's all right. So Aristotle posits that man is a political animal. Do you believe that all humans are endowed with the requirements for effective participation in the political process?
Oh yes, one of the challenges that we have in our society today, and I speak about this a lot, is that political leaders, not even everywhere in FRC, in my own organization, we make two very wrong assumptions about people. One, we assume that people, because they are educated, are knowledgeable. Big assumption, meaning that you say, oh, people are educated, so they know their rights, they know about politics. It's not true. Many people are educated, but they have stayed away from political consciousness. Then, on the flip side, we say, oh, these other ones who are not educated, there is no need to talk to them. They are not sophisticated enough. They won't understand. Those are two assumptions we make. What am I saying? That to create political consciousness, leaders, all of us, community leaders, we need to galvanize people to be politically conscious. My answer to your question is a definitive yes. That we are political animals. We have the ability. But the question is, politics for what purpose? The purpose of politics is not to grab power. It's social mobilization. It's community engagement. It's transformation. And if we find politicians who have that agenda and have a background that predisposes them, and sometimes people say, oh, somebody is a new person, it's a neophyte. But we are all new at one thing or the other, isn't it? I mean, so there's nothing wrong. For example, I'm an accountant. I used to work as an investment banker. Now I'm a teacher and I educate people. The first day I got to teaching, I was new. But what did I do? I used the same skills that I used as an investment banker to learn about education. And now people see me and say, oh, you're a great educator. So we can all learn politics and whatever it takes to be successful in politics.
Still going back to this issue of politics being a dirty game. When you are talking of involvement, when you are talking of consciousness, there must be some factors that will stimulate political consciousness.
Yes.
You must look at people you consider as role models in politics.
That's right.
Now, do you think we have those factors that can stimulate political consciousness in our environment?
Well, the truth is this, that they say there's a theory in leadership. They call it the great man theory. It's the same theory as a person of faith. We say some people are saints. Where did saints and great men come from? They mostly came from a rotten society. So in this our rot, that things look bad, great people will emerge. You see, the people who will save Nigeria are not the political elite as we know them. It has to be a new generation of political elite who will come with ideology, who will come with the ability to show good example, and who will inspire the vision that is required to change our country. And those people are sitting down. Some of them is latent, they call latent energy. It is there, waiting to be harnessed, and it is until they are stoked. And some of the things going on today is stoking people like myself and saying, you know what, we can't keep sitting on the fence. We've got to get involved.
And what are those things?
All these issues, bad government, the lack of vision, the lack of clarity, the fact that what people want. I come from a school of thought that says that what is a leader's job? A leader's job is to inspire hope. That situations are bad. They are bad in America. They are bad in Japan. They are bad in Singapore. No society is perfect. But a leader's job is to do what? Is to inspire hope. And what has happened in Nigeria is that our leaders have killed our hope. So we are a hopeless nation. It is that hopelessness that is the stoke that has driven people like us to say we must get involved.
Social philosophers said that every society gets the kind of leaders it deserves. Do you think there's any contrast between our leadership and the followership?
Well, there is a big relationship, and I like you're asking all the great questions. There's a good relationship. For example, where do leaders come from? Of course, they come from the society. A society where I was coming to your office now, we are stopped this evening at the traffic light, and 6 people pass me, and there are still 15 seconds before the red light turns to green. These 6 people, what type of people are they? When they become ministers, when they become members of the House of Reps, don't you know what to expect? So in a way you are correct, but there's a slight caveat to it, that regardless of how useless society is, there will emerge great people. Think about South Africa in 1994 when Mandela came out of prison. Is that really the leader South Africans deserved? I don't think so. South Africans wanted blood. They wanted to kill their enemies. They wanted to fight. But Mandela got up and preached peace. That's the caveat. That even in a rotten followership can emerge great leadership. And that's what Nigeria is going to get very soon.
And now Mandela is not there and they have gone back to sign public attacks.
And that's what I'm trying to say. So he did not deserve Mandela. That's the point I'm making. So
he came ahead of his time.
He came ahead of his time. And that's what's going to happen in Nigeria.
Okay, fine. The program is still platform on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We've been discussing 2019 elections and mass political participation. My guest remains Mr. Omagbitse Barrow, an aspirant on the platform of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party.
Yes.
In a country where over 60% of the youth population are unemployed and with no sustainable means of livelihood, what's the value of the Not Too Young to Run Act that was recently signed into law by the president to a people preoccupied with their basic survival, especially in this era of vote buying?
Well, I think that some of these things are signals. They point you to some level of hope that in as much as prior to this, certain people of certain ages couldn't aspire, now they can. So maybe what it does is to create some hope. But the practical reality of this is that young people must realize that nobody is going to give you power. That you have to what? Take it. Take it through proper channels. Work hard. Make the sacrifices. People talk about money in politics. I imagine that's where we are heading to. So where is the person going to mobilize the resources? Well, think about it this way. If you were looking for 100 million naira to run a House of Reps campaign, or 70 million, which is the cap, and you found 7,000 people who will give you 10,000 naira. There you go. You just found 70 million naira.
No, but how will they even invest in you if they are not sure that you are going to win and they'll be able to recoup their investments?
So that is the problem. Why do we need to be sure that someone needs to win? And what do you want to recoup? You see, these are the fundamental questions in the mind paradigm shifts that needs to take place. We need to stop talking about investing and recouping. The recouping that you want is service. Service from a legislator. Service from a House of Reps member. That is what you want. It is not about, I listened to someone talk one day, and I say this all the time. She said, the problem I have with politics in Nigeria was that I ran. My party promised me that if I lost, they will make me a minister. And I have not become a minister. And I say to myself, is that what the purpose of politics is? So that you will get a position, and if you don't get it, you have to be compensated? We need to rise. The Nigerian people need to get to a higher level of political consciousness. That it is he who pays the piper that dictates the tune. If I take money from a political godfather or from a money bag, then what will happen? That person will determine everything. If I take money from 10,000 people, then those 10,000 people and their agenda becomes my agenda to serve those people. And that is where we need to take politics to in Nigeria.
Mr. Barrow, do you sincerely believe that we have got to a stage where we expect genuine service from our political leaders? And that we are no longer seeing politics as a transaction, entrepreneurship.
Here's what I'm saying, back to the Mandela example. If you people continue having that expectation, here's what's going to happen. We, the new generation of forward-thinking politicians in Nigeria, are going to challenge the system, and we are going to do things differently, and we will achieve good results that you will now come back and say, wow, let's join the winning train. That's my take on it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. We cannot continue doing the same things we are doing over and over again and expecting different results.
Now, talking about 2019 elections and mass political participation.
Yes.
Let's go back to Athens, the Greek city-state where democracy originated from. It was a kind of representative government. Do you think that there will ever be any time that the cream of society will be involved directly in politics?
Well, put it this way. When you say the cream of society, that is everybody, the masses. But aren't they involved? Aren't they involved in where people are buying their votes for 1,000 naira? They are involved. The problem is, how are they involved? You see, so there is involvement. To share with you on this thought, the problem is that the people who are actually forward thinking, the people who have the right values, are the ones who are staying out. And that's not what happened in ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, the concept of elite is not rich. It is the educated, the exposed, and the forward-thinking. And these are the people that we need to bring, that we need to drag, kicking and screaming. And you know why? Because they are so preoccupied, like you said earlier, with running their businesses, setting up their families, pursuing their careers, thinking that if they grow their businesses up to 10 over 10, they will be okay. But forget that you will be 10 over 10 in a country that is 2 over 10. And at the end of the day, that your 10 over 10 ends up being 1 over 10. And no matter what we do, the society will put a lead on how well we can progress, even as individuals and private people.
And do you really think that the nation loses anything by not having the elite in the political circle now?
Oh, yes, because so when we say elite, again, I want to rephrase the word and change it to forward-thinking people who are exposed, people who are enlightened. Yes, because they are the people that actually can help a society. Let's go back to Nigeria, pre-independence. Who were the people who were running our independence struggle? Were they the children of the Obas and the Emirs? No! They were the educated.
Intelligentsia.
The intelligentsia. It was them. Awolowo, Herbert Macaulay, Zeke, Tafawa Balewa. These were people who were educated. They were the most sophisticated people, but they were not the children of the palace. You see, the people who had money in Nigeria, who were rich in Nigeria, were the Obas, the Emirs, and the Obis. It was not their children who gave Nigeria independence. It was the children of ordinary folks who were educated, like Nnamdi Azikiwe. Those were the people that fought for Nigeria. So it's the same thing that must happen today. Don't expect rich people and Novo-rich to take care of Nigeria. It is ordinary folks, but ordinary folks who have worked hard, and who have been blessed with talents and resources. It is them that will transform Nigeria.
Now you're actually advocating paradigm shifts in Nigerian politics.
That's
so
right.
what should be the issues in the 2019 electoral process?
Well, the issues should be very straightforward. Number one, we need to start asking ourselves, what is the ideology behind political parties? What makes them distinct? Who are the people behind these parties? Who are the candidates? How did they raise their money? What is their agenda? How practical and pragmatic are the things that they are saying? And all of this has to come from a higher level of consciousness education. We need to invest in educating the average Nigerian about who. I mean, I've interacted with people, some of my friends who are very senior people, executives in banks, and they said, until you started teaching us, we did not know the role of a legislator. We thought that legislators have budgets and they are the ones who build roads and hospitals. And that's why I made that point, that even people who are educated are not knowledgeable. We have to educate them again. People who are not educated, we have to still create a high level of awareness in them. And it's our responsibility. Let me give you a quick one. Imagine that everybody you know has a maid, has a houseboy, has a driver, has a security man. Those are the people who are typically predisposed to collecting 1,000 naira for their votes. So imagine if you, the elite in this country, the forward-thinking folks, go and intervene and coach that person. Talk to them. Don't underestimate them. Don't say, oh, they won't understand. Talk to them. Nigerians need talking to. And I think that that's what is going to be the deciding factor in 2019. Politicians are going to talk to Nigerians, and Nigerians are going to have a change of heart.
If you have just joined us, you are on to Platform on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We shall return in a moment. Stay tuned. Glad to know you are still there. This is Platform, and we have been discussing the 2019 elections and mass political participation. Our guest remains a chieftain of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party and House of Representatives aspirant, Mr. Omagbitse Barrow. My name is Dan Ede. Anyway, we have been talking theory. Now let's get practical.
Yes.
You want to represent the Buhari Federal Constituency of the Federal Capital Territory in the House of Representatives. May we know what you are bringing on board if you are elected?
Thank you for the opportunity. Essentially, the job of a legislator, I have codified it in a mnemonic, role, R-O-L-E, representation, oversight, legislation, and engagement. Just as an example, representation. Wouldn't it be nice that we will have a legislator like Representative Barrow, that when somebody is infringing on your fundamental human rights, let's say, for example, you went to a licensing office in the FCT and you get there and one fellow called Ekaite is telling you that he will not give you this thing until you bribe him. Then you tell him, Ekaite, I'm calling the office of our representative. And I know that if I call this number now, you are in trouble. And everybody knows that you have an action representative who is ready to represent your interests. That we will have a 24-hour contact center where people can walk in, where people can phone, where people can email, where people can text and say, someone is infringing on my rights. It's a government official, it's my neighbor, it's my association, whoever it is. It's my office where my boss is trying to take advantage of me. And you will get a response from your legislator. You will get a response within 24 hours, and it will be published that this is what happened and this is how we've solved the problem. This, my dear people of the FCT, is representation. If it is oversight, it's not about saying that we'll be calling people to National Assembly. We will go to the offices. Look, if anyone who knows me that is listening on this program will confirm this, I am leadership by walking around. It's hands-on. It's roll up your sleeves. We will go from one department and agency to the other, and we will demand performance from public servants, because that is what is required to turn Nigeria around. What other job will I be doing than these simple things of representation and oversight? Legislation, we will write laws for the good governance of Nigeria because we are articulate, because we are sound, because we do research, because we understand the issues, because we are not covered up in bulletproof vehicles. We are in touch with people's realities. I have worked, I have run businesses, I have lived, I have set up institutions in the FCT. These are real things, and I'm on ground. And this is the difference that we are going to bring in 2019. If the good people of the FCT, of Amak and Buhari, and the good people of Nigeria, and the good Lord upstairs give us the chance to do so.
Instantly, we have a political system where only the big political platforms are recognized. So why do you choose the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party?
It's very simple. For me, I decided to get involved. And I said to myself, I'm going to choose a political party that resonates with my values and my ethos, that resonates with my reality, because I'm not going to join a political party where I will go there, then they will tell me that you need to have a godfather, you need to do this, you need to do that, you have to pay obeisance to this person. No. The ANRP is a very democratic party. Our internal democracy is world class. elections. We have debates amongst candidates internally. We have an option A4 system in terms of our primaries, and we are not using delegates. Every registered member in that constituency votes through the primaries. For me, the internal democracy, the ethos, and also even the ideology of the party resonated with me. Anti-corruption, environmental issues, welfare issues. For me, these are things that... So I took my time. I went through the websites of these parties. I identified who I thought I could go into bed with, and I think that I have found a very good place, and I'm very proud of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party and what we can achieve with Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so far. You said earlier that you are on ground in the FCT.
Yes.
And I'm not contesting that.
Yeah.
But what are the peculiarities of the Federal Capital Territory that need to be addressed with legislation for effective administration of the territory?
Well, I mean, some of the big issues, and like you said, we are on ground and we are learning every day through our consultations and engagements. I will not claim to know every problem, but some of the things that are very clear, abundantly clear, is, for example, we have got a population of people who are indigenes of the FCT, and they have valid issues, valid concerns. Where do they live? How have they been relocated to these places? What conditions are they living under? What's the quality of life of the indigenes of the FCT? That's a very important thing. And then for the other people who are outsiders who now live in the FCT, another very huge population living in a cosmopolitan city, a city that is decaying because of indiscipline, a city that does not offer opportunities. Plenty of people here are public servants. We are now in a city where the public service is the biggest economy in our city, and we have to create a larger economic base. For example, I am one of the people that believes that we should be training civil servants to take an early retirement. By the time you are 45, as a public servant, you should have learned enough about business and entrepreneurship so that you can get out there, because if not, you are a blocker. I mean, you start your service at grade level 7 or 8. How many people will become assistant directors? You understand what I'm talking about? It things out. It's like a pyramid, isn't it? So at some point, there are too many people jostling for too few opportunities. And then you are blocking younger people from coming. What I will be legislating for is to get people out in the mid-career so that they can go out and become entrepreneurs and businessmen and diversify the economic base of the FCT so that FCT can be more self-sustaining and that we can do more for the people who are the indigenous people, as well as those of us who have also come here from other parts of the country.
Let's look at some other national issues.
Yes.
What's your position on the issue of restructuring?
Well, the thing about restructuring is that what does it mean? Restructuring means different things for so many people. Is it restructuring of the political system, the electoral system? Which restructuring? Restructuring of the economic base of Nigeria?
Which one do you think Nigeria needs?
I think for me, and it's very important, I think that we have to look back at concepts of federalism and how we are doing it, the allocation of resources. We also have to pay attention to one of the very important things, something I call the mediocrity that is constitutionalized, these issues of federal character. Well, everybody talks about the fact that, we need to have people from here, from there, from there. And I quote, I think it was either the Vice President of Sibajo or His Royal Highness Emir of Kano. I can't remember who said this. Who once said that when you enter an aeroplane, the most dangerous thing in this world is to fly in a plane. I fly almost every 2 weeks for my business. That when you enter an aeroplane, do you ever stop and say, the person inside, is he Shekiri? Is he Igbo? Is he Hausa? Do you ever ask that question? No. All you trust is that the person is competent. For God's sake, can we focus on getting competent people to run Nigeria regardless of where they come from? Can we therefore work on ensuring that everybody in Nigeria, so federal character for me works for education. Educate everybody at the same level, regardless of where you come from, what state you are from. Make sure that education works. I am an educator and I'm going to invest heavily in education. As far as I'm concerned, once I get into the political governance in Nigeria, heavily, because education is the opportunity. Once you have been given the opportunity, then the rest is left for you. It's now left to competence and capacity, which you have to prove. So the concept of federal character, especially in public service, is an issue that really needs to be interrogated. Nigeria is running what I describe. Some countries are capitalists, some are socialists. You know what I say about Nigeria? We are ethnoists. Because the allocation of resources in this country is based on ethnicity, and that is wrong. It creates mediocrity. All the years of unity schools and all of those things were meant to ensure that there was balance in the abilities of people from all over this country. But you know what has happened? The unity schools have now become Yamayama schools. And at the end of the day, in every part of Nigeria, I am from Delta, and I know that even in my home state, the quality of education, we used to have the highest cutoff mark before in those days. The quality of education has declined. Because rather than build our educational system, we are too busy chasing political office and asking how many people from one part are ministers and how many people are DGs and so on and so forth. We need to get beyond that. So that's one area I would like to restructure.
As we round off this program, what's your advice to newcomers to politics like you, seeking political office in this general election?
First, don't listen to the cynics. 2, differentiate yourself. The cynics will stop you. They'll tell you it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's a lie. Differentiate yourself. Seek to be unique. Seek to be differentiated. Have a proposition that is beyond you. That is, talk about things that really will galvanize people together. Have a strategy. People say politics is dirty. Here's what I have learned. That it's about being strategic. Just like running a business, one of the values of our party, just to digress, is that we will run politics, governance, and our country as an enterprise. It's very important, and that's why I'm very passionate about our party. That we should think about everything we do. If it was your company, if it was your business, how will you do it? So you must have a plan, you must have a strategy, and you must face that strategy, implement it. You must have a culture. You must bring together people who understand your vision, and don't surround yourself with sycophants. You must have a leadership style that is progressive, that is engaging. That when you do these things, you may not win the election now, but you will build and keep building, and you must not give up.
That has been a member of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, Mr. Omagbitse Barrow. We thank you so much for finding time to come on.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
It's here we end this edition of Platform. Join us at 7 o'clock in the evening next week, Tuesday, for another edition of the program. For reaction or comment, send your mail to platform@radionigeria.net or frcmplatform@gmail.com. Usman Nuruddin has been our sound manager. Ifeoma Nwovu and Yose Ardel assisted in the production. On behalf of my executive producer, Sani Suleiman, I am Dan Ede. Remain blessed.